All right, you probably know that English is quite an easy language to learn, right? Everybody does. But when it's time for speaking, that's when we struggle. We're grappling with words. We understand the content, we understand what the speaker is talking about. I've seen a lot of my students, they're like, Sir, I was watching a video on YouTube and I understood every single word of it. But when it was time for me to explain that to my friend, I was wrestling, I was grappling, I couldn't really make sentences and I couldn't speak up. And I feel like this is a problem that a lot of the students, a lot of the people are facing, especially when they're learning a new language. I used to have the same problem, but then I feel like there's a very interesting few things that you need to look at in order to really not just understand English, but also speak fluently. So the first problem that I want to talk about specifically, like why we can't speak fluently, we understand English, but we can't speak, is that there is something called too much input. And you probably see that in schools, in universities as well. So the entire focus is literally just helping students with listening and also reading. Like we see students, they listen to these long, epic lectures, and then they also read through pages. But magic happens with the output part. So we don't actually focus on the output part. The output is basically writing and speaking. And that's why I tell my students all the time that whenever you watch your favorite show, your YouTube video, make sure that you actually use those words or try to summarize them in a practical spoken way to your friend or to your fellow. Because apparently we understand so much. We've literally overwhelmed ourselves with infinite vocabulary, so much reading. But when it comes to like really just speaking fluently without making any mistakes, that's when we face the biggest problem. So I always tell everyone to ever, like, whenever you read something, whenever you watch something, make sure you write it down, or at least you talk about it in a nice, effective manner. The second reason why we can't speak fluently and we understand English is because we have a lack of courage. We're always afraid of making mistakes. We are scared. Like whenever we speak in English, we think that, oh my God, I'm going to fall out. And of course, this really plays into your overall speaking. Because I remember when I was started learning English back in my school, my college days. So I used to speak English with my friends, with my college mates. And by the way, most of the time, they absolutely despised that. They didn't like me speaking in English. But eventually, they had to literally cave into that because they realized that learning this language is probably the most momentous thing to do. So yeah, I feel like you're gonna have this problem, but you got to really overcome your fear and always speak up. Have a little courage. This little boldness and courage and confidence can really play a vital role in your overall speaking. So especially if you're a student, you're watching, please. Stay fearless, okay, especially when learning English, because there's absolutely no way for you to like ever learn this language or master the speaking part of it without actually staying courageous, because you're going to make mistakes. And lastly, one of the biggest reasons why students cannot speak fluently and they understand English is because they forget the fun factor. Look, if you are obsessed with the language, then you better embrace it totally. Like that's what I used to do. So you probably don't know, but I'm a huge cricket fan and football fan, and I used to watch like cricket and football and other shows rigorously. And one day I remember it was a pretty classic match between Manchester United and I think Newcastle. Maybe it was the second coming of Cristiano Ronaldo and Peter Drury, one of the most powerful commentators in football. He went pretty nuts. He said that. Vintage, beyond valuation, beyond forgery or imitation, restored to this great gallery of the game, a walking work of art, CR7. I still remember those words. And I used to have this snake, by the way. I would always, capture expressions like these really fantastic, fabulous expressions from like different commentators. And then I would literally just use them in my like daily communication with my friends. And I just really want you to like, it's called a fun factor. Like you always just make it so fun and interesting, and that's like one of the fastest and probably the easiest way to learn a language. So Just these three things. Focus more on the output than input. And the second is, of course, build courage. Okay, because lack of courage absolutely kill your creativity, your speaking ability. And the third part was, of course, do not forget the fun factor, because if you forget the fun factor, then you will have a very tough life, especially learning English. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. And by the way, I'm getting a lot of traction in these kind of videos. People are liking it. So thank you so much. And I'll see you in another one.